when I was a child growing up in Iran, my parents used to take us north to the mountains, and then we used to go and visit the Caspian Sea and the coast when we used to be in Iran. And that was like a very nice experience for me. I always loved that drive we used to take up through the mountains, like the Elburz Mountains, and you go down into the Caspian Sea, and then you stay at the beach and all that summer experience. So that was the only thing my parents actually did. And then much later on when we came to Pakistan, and then only when my mother worked for the school that I started going on these trips did I really have that first experience. It was my mother used to go with me on my first couple of trips to the mountains. So she kind of helped in that way. She was always there, I knew that. But after that, as I said, once you get the gist of it, then you want to do it yourself. And then you make friends, you find people who have shared common interests with you, and then you eventually start doing it with them. And then your group grows, and and then you start exploring, and then on your own sometimes, and sometimes with friends. My name is Montesir Shirazi. I've been doing trekking for over 25 years now. Currently I live in Canada, but Pakistan is in my DNA, trekking is in my DNA. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you through a few of the big treks that I've done in my lifetime. I hope you enjoy my experiences the way I describe it, and hope it's fun, and hope it inspires you to do better things and go places, have fun, learn about yourself, and hopefully take something away from it. If I go back in the day, I don't think I was ever an active kid. I used to always struggle with sports. I used to force myself to take part in sports. So trekking came much later on. Before that, it was just घूमने फिरने का शौक, which is wanderlust in a way. But as a kid, I wasn't very active. I used to play different games. I was never excelled at any sport, whether it was running, cricket, hockey, football. Didn't excel at anything, but I used to play all the sports. But then I got into trekking much, much later. And I think the first bug which I got for hiking and trekking was back in, I think it was 1989. I went on a little trip with a school, which is not my school, which was HSN, but I went with a different school where my mother was a teacher, and we went to Naran. And over there we did some trekking. We went up to this lake called Saiful Muluk, which everybody knows, and we walked that. I was maybe 15 or something that age. And we walked up, and I remember it was one of those experiences which you have for the first time, walking in the mountains, the fresh air and all that stuff that comes along with it. And that kind of made me fall in love with mountains and the greenery and the rivers and the water and everything that comes with trekking. So I think that was the first time I really enjoyed that trekking experience. And I had a mentor and a teacher who was a scoutmaster, and he got me into scouting as well. So scouting, as well as the sense of adventure and that experience, kind of got me into this adventure kind of spirit. But I'd never done a hardcore trek before anything. We've never done even a walk up to Saiful Muluk, for example. And then it started from there. I think that was the starting point. We went on several trips with that particular school. I did more Boy Scout, more scouting, and eventually then we ended up doing more trips with the school. Went to Swat, Murray, did a lot of hiking and camping. First few experiences of camping as well, outdoors. That was all fun. And that's where it all kind of started. I think it's really, really important for kids to get a flavor of this. You don't have to be the most physically strong or able kid. I think, but it's important to try and start early as possible. There's a lot of things you need to get used to, etc. Kids nowadays, unfortunately, just stick to the devices, and computers are there. There's a lot of distractions, and They're not wanting to go out and play. They're not willing to go out and have fun and explore new things, which was very, very common back in the day when we were growing up. So that sense of adventure and all those things, people need to try and take their kids out, put them in scouting, put them in bike clubs like bicycle clubs or one of those things, and make them at least make an effort to go out with them initially. And once you get that ball rolling, then eventually they will get into this fold. So media helps because social media is, creating a lot of awareness about trekking and hiking and, going to nice places. But it's always good to go with them initially. And then eventually when they become adults, they will like to adopt that lifestyle and adventure, the spirit of adventure, etc. And hopefully they'll become good eco-tourists, and they'll also think about the environment as well when they're becoming an adventurer, or they want to go on treks and do tours, etc. I always say this is one of my favorite sayings. I don't know who it's from, but travel broadens the mind, and it's a pretty famous saying, and it's 100% true. The more you travel, the more knowledge you gain about other cultures, people, their way of life, languages. You gain an appreciation that you're not the only person, or it's not just Pakistan, all over the world. Or even in Pakistan, like we live in Lahore, for example, and in Lahore, you're just like a Lahori, right? But you need to go to Sindh, you need to go to Balochistan, you need to go to the frontier area, Kashmir, experience those languages, those cultures, their traditions, their values, and even abroad. You go outside of Pakistan, completely different way of life. It's not just 100% Muslim. You have to deal with different languages, different people, different religions, and that helps you get a lot more tolerant. When you come back, you think, like people over there don't even think about these things. Religion is not plastered everywhere on every wall. So there's a lot more tolerance, there's a lot more knowledge, more understanding, more appreciation of different cultures and people. So travel is wonderful. It's a beautiful thing. I think everyone should do it. If you can't afford to go outside of Pakistan, travel in Pakistan. It's such a beautiful country, but you need to make that effort and that step to go and explore. And hopefully you'll have some amazing experiences, and you'll learn a lot. You'll find all kinds of cultures, languages, and it's quite interesting, like your experiences you have. When we went to Dadar Eli, for example, those people are so poor, and they were still willing to share their meal with us, drink their tea with us, because our food sucked at that time, right? Our food was like bland, was terrible, boiled rice and all that stuff. And these people just opened their hearts out and shared their meals with us and said, if you want it, please take it. So although they had just limited supply. So all of this teaches you about humility, about kindness, things you don't even learn. Nowadays, those values and that were there from back in the day, or you still have in smaller cities and towns, I think all of that's missing now in modernists. Everyone's just wanting to be, it's all about people, my interests, me. Everything is about me. Nobody thinks about the other person. There's no empathy for a poor person. There's a lot of, the world is not a very nice place. So when you travel and you meet people who are still like that, it probably will change you as well a little bit, make you a little softer. Being on the net is easy, and on the net all you see is an image or a video, not really three-dimensional. When you're out there, like you look at a mountain, for example, there is no way you can ever capture what K2 looks like, or Nanga Parbat looks like, or Rupal Face looks like, or the Biafra Glacier looks like, or Concordia looks like, or whatever. So all these places, when you go there and you see it in person, it's a completely different perspective. You look at the scale and size and the sheer thing and how small you are in relation to that, and you really get an appreciation for those places. And it's very easy to look at something on media and social media and think this is easy. It's not. You have to go there, and you have to do that khwari and do that painstaking process and work and live through all of that and realize that this is not easy. You should respect your environment and what needs to get there. It's very different from looking at an image on social media and just saying, yeah, it's okay. So go there, see those places. But what I'll say is, when you go there, please take care of the environment. Don't screw it up. Isabel Shaw said, or somebody said that, take nothing but pictures, leave nothing but footprints. That's the beautiful saying, and that's how you should leave it for the next person who comes there. Keep it clean, don't make a mess, be environmentally responsible. ecotourism is very, very important. Pick up the wrapper that you drop, because that wrapper will not decay for 100 years. I think there's a bug. It starts with a bug. And I think most importantly, what it teaches you is you get to know yourself. You get to know your limits. You get to understand what it takes. Do you have it in you to take that next step, to the next 3 hours, to the next 7 hours, the next 3 days, and keep doing it for 7, 8, 9, 10 days. It teaches you endurance. It teaches you appreciation. It teaches you so much about yourself that you didn't know you had in you. I have learned, I think, doing some of these big treks, I've learned so much about myself and the ability to, how much I can mind over matter, that it really shows that I had the strength to do things I never thought I could. And, like that guy said, famously, what's his name? Nirmal? What's his name? The guy who did the 14 peaks in 60 days or something. He said, when you say that you're fucked, you're only 45% fucked. And that's 100% true, because I used to be like that. Whenever I would do anything, I would sandbag everything. And then I realized that sandbagging doesn't work. You have to actually try. And then I realized that I have a lot more I can do if I just push myself a little harder. Trekking has taught me a lot about life and about, your pain threshold, your endurance, appreciation, respect for an ordinary guy you would not even look at twice on the road, but he's a porter, he's lifting a lot of equipment, a lot of heavy load, and you get an appreciation for what he does and how hard his job is. You apply that in real life. You apply it to the people you work with, who you think are subordinate to you, but they do a lot of heavy lifting. You appreciate their work. And similarly, you work with other people who are your managers and people around you. Trekking actually teaches you to respect a leader who you have to follow, which is a guide, for example. Trekking also teaches you to give 100% and realize that, maybe I can give 150%, I can do more. It teaches you to stretch your limits, because you've done it physically, you can also do it mentally. So there's a lot that actually trekking teaches you, which you can apply in real life, in your career. And I think every child should experience this and go through this. So I think I've been on a lot of treks in my life, but I think I've been with a few people, and I've been lucky that the people that we've been with, we've gotten along fairly well. We've had generally 3 to 4 people in our trekking groups, so never really had any issues. Or normally when the group is of that size, it's a perfect size of group. When you bring in like 7, 8, 9, 10 people, there's a lot more complexity that's get added on, and then that's where kind of people split into groups, and then there's a lot of issues over there. I think for that, what really works is you need a leader who sets the tone, who guides people, who doesn't tolerate. When you get into trekking or hiking, you have to realize that the leader is really, really important. You need to follow him. You need to respect him and listen to him. You can't do your own thing. So you must adhere to the rules and respect that, because if you don't, it can be actually very dangerous. If you are on a long trek, a big trek, and you don't listen, you can die on one of these big treks, right? So if the guide says, if your leader says, go this way, and you want to go some other way, then you should not be trekking if you can't follow the rules. You should follow the rules. Don't be a cowboy, as they say. And this is serious business. Accidents happen, people die. So, be careful. Mountains are beautiful, but mountains, glaciers, all these things are beautiful, but you need to respect the environment that you're in. We were in trekking to K2, if you remember, and then we heard the news that there was this American woman who was she was getting to the towers, the Trango Towers. She was in that area, and she actually fell through a crevice, and they never found her. The US Embassy sent out dogs, I remember sniffer dogs, and there were helicopters, and the guys were telling us that that's what happened. And God knows why she fell, how she fell. But when you go in an area, these areas are really serious. You can be the citizen of the strongest country in the world. If you go down a crevice in a glacier, you're gone. So follow the leaders, follow the rules, listen to them, and you'll be okay then. Isabel Shaw again said that. I always quote Isabel Shaw, but She said that people die trekking than they do in car accidents every year. So you'll be safe as long as you follow the rules. I think everyone has a different endurance level. I will not say, I wouldn't suggest going to Snow Lake and going to the bigger, more technical treks like Gondogoro, or like Jila, or any one of the other more technical passes, like you have a lot of high passes which require ropes and climbing, etc. I would say stay clear of that stuff. Altitude is also important. So start with the Naran Valley, the Swat Valley. Do one of those smaller treks where you get to about 3,000 meters. Try Kashmir or somewhere. But see how you adapt to altitude. You can be the fittest person in the world, but if you get altitude sickness, you should learn how to cope with that and see how your body reacts. So try a smaller trek, do a Naran Kagan Valley trek, and then you can try and go a little bit higher and higher and higher, and then put in more days, do a 3-day trek, do a 4-day, 5-day, and then eventually try and do the big ones. But some people, they're super fit, they never get altitude sickness, they are like runners, triathletes, they probably can do really, really well, So unke liye masla nahi hoga, but maybe they'll do fine and they'll be able to scale Jila or something else. But again, it depends on your level of fitness and how good you are. But start small. I hope you're enjoying the stories and my experiences, and there's more to come, so stay tuned. But let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget, comments are below. Ask the questions, I will answer them.